Hey, welcome into this edition of the GASOCast. We are rocking 4 deep. Haven't done this since the TABC of 2020 under the Duncanville Arena rafters. So, we've been doing a fun little segment called what you've been doing or where we've been. Blue, why don't you tip us off with that?
Golf was rained out Friday. So
where was I? Oh, never mind. Okay.
And went in and watched Elvis.
I saw it too.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, playing a lot of golf.
Oh, jeez.
Done 7 fantasy football drafts, which is way too many. But
I got one more today.
We're gonna make it work, hopefully.
We have a theme in our office.
Oh gosh.
Fantasy football and golf. I'll just concur. Season starts tomorrow, and then we got a lot of good stuff this weekend. I got Matthew Stafford playing tomorrow. GASO Fall Classic, and then the Baylor Bears play it's my alma mater, and then Cowboys play Sunday night. Good sports weekend.
Hold on to something tight Sunday night. It's gonna be.
You're worth following for that.
Oh man.
So.
For me, I was in San Antonio with family. Saw some high school football. I'm excited for high school football. I keep up with that a lot. And one guy I want to shout out, Jaden Grayhouse, which is a stud on the basketball court too. Went absolutely insane for Austin Westlake. But yeah, Friday Night Lights I'm a big fan of. But I also am excited. Golf course, football, fantasy football, just a good time. And this Saturday, GASO Fall Classic.
Oh yeah.
Sunday link camp. Can't wait for that. It's going to be a really cool experience. We kind of tightened up exactly how everything's going to look. We're going to have a really cool Q&A session. If you're attending, I think you're going to be coached by at least 3 different staffs. Or four different staffs, ranging from D3 to junior college. It's going to be a really cool experience for some of these guys.
Yeah, I've talked to some of the college coaches, head coaches that are going to be involved in this weekend's link camp, and they're excited. We're excited. And I just think it's unique. That's a word that keeps popping into my head. This is a unique camp for everybody involved. So
absolutely, 49 days until the first high school basketball practice. I'm a coach, so I'm always trying to, I care a lot about that stuff. And then obviously the GASO Fall Classics this weekend, kind of like TABC, we have done our part. We have sent a, kind of like a prospect guide from everybody in our database, ranging from 23s all the way to 26s to college coaches' inboxes, which is going to be really cool for them to just open it up. They can watch Baller TV. Everyone but Division I can come this weekend. We're looking forward to having y'all, and we're looking forward to the GASO Fall Classic.
Let me just add this. This is for you, Timmins, to know that I spoke to 3 Division I colleges on the way to drive in 35 minutes.
No way.
3. So they're pumped up, and they're Division I's over the last couple of days that I really have talked to. Handful of them. They want that Baller TV link. They're going to be tuning in. 90 teams.
That blows my mind.
9 courts. This is just a fun way to tip off to me the high school basketball season.
They called you for real? Tweet it. All right. Moving on to signings.
Only for 34 years.
Signings and commitments. Matt Reed to Richmond. Corey Hadnot to Purdue. Fort Wayne. DeCannon Wickware to Incarnate Word. Congratulations to those 3. Those are 3 really, really fun to watch 2023s.
And one thing I'll say about these 3 commitments, you look at each school that they're going to, you're like, that's interesting, which tells me that they went through the process, didn't just go off of the names that are offering them. They found something that they really loved and a mutual respect and love between the coaching staff and the player. Because you look at some of these and you're like, Corey Hadnot, Purdue, Fort Wayne, how'd he get out of Texas or how'd he get out of the region? There's obviously something that, Purdue, Fort Wayne went and got him, and there's a real love right there and a connection. So good for them for going through the recruiting process and finding a fit that's fit for them.
Awesome. For this week's quick question, how has the high school coaching job changed? I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Lyndon. You are a high school coach.
Yeah, I mean, it's the evolution. It's not, when you sign on to be a high school coach, it's a 10-month contract, but you're working 365 days out of the year, especially in this environment now. it's not just picking up a whistle at 2:30, putting it down to 5, and then going to coaching games. It's everything that comes with it. It's the social media. It's the making sure that all the mouths are fed, that your players are happy, because that's not with today's environment where you see a lot of transfers between schools and stuff. You have to stay on top of making sure that you're offering the best that your program can to not only be an attractive place for where parents want to send their kids to school to go play for you, but also keep the ones you have there and keep that team intact. So that's really how the game has changed, at least in my eyes, over the last couple of years.
I think that's a really good point, Lyndon. I would say it starts with social media. For me, is the biggest change. 10 years ago, I guess, or I can even say 6-7 years ago, when I kind of entered into the coaching world, it was just totally different. Like, social media wasn't like a hinging point to selling your program, and now it is. And it's a huge deal, and it's really cool to see the innovation and how coaches have really found different ways to make their social media really impressive and doing different things. And it's almost another just avenue of competition that you have to be really, really buttoned up at and be really good at.
Yeah, I had a 6A coach hit me up and say, hey, what is it? Does this graphic look okay? Like, they're taking the initiative to go on Photoshop and Canva and things like that and doing schedule graphics and stuff like that. I'm like, isn't that an assistant coaching job? He was like, no, it's mine. I want to do it. So they're taking that initiative. They just know, they see what the landscape is, and they're just adjusting and adapting. Yeah,
you're taking on different roles, and I've talked to my friends that have been out there, that when they took the head coaching jobs, this was not part of it. And it has grown, and now you have to have different skills even as a head coach that is off the court. I mean, with you two guys, you're at a smaller school. You were probably in charge of your social media, Mass being an assistant, a younger guy.
Yeah, I can speak to it a little bit. Canva was like my best friend. I spent a lot of time. We were a really competitive team. We were kind of the Colony versus the Little Elm when that rivalry was really, really big in district. And just being able to, I was learning on the fly and kind of being thrust in that situation. It was sink or swim in a sense, but it was really good for me. And it was really fun to innovate, and I enjoyed doing it. I spent a lot of time doing it, though.
From a different perspective of like mine and Timmins, being in the office for so many years with Mike Kunstadt, he said that I don't think he was necessarily focused so much on the social media side of things, but many years ago, 10, 12 years ago, he said basketball is going to change. Well, this is where we are. The changing of the 365, you feel like you're working 365 days out of the year. The parents know what high school coaches are out and about. If they're at a Great American Shootout or at a Buff event, they can see and they put their eyes out there to see what head coaches are going to watch their JV team, their players from their JVs and freshmen, see how everybody's developing. And I think it's starting to be more expected.
Yeah.
And
the baseline has risen.
And we even see it in the TABC, which they're able to come now and coach on the sideline, which majority of guys that I talk to and kind of survey it a little bit, they're excited to be out there because that's what their passion and love is. But I think a lot of we need to pat all those coaches on the back that they're going beyond what the normal contract says to do and spending time away from your family and so forth.
Absolutely. I think that was a well-done segment. Let's move into our mailbag question. Will GASO class rankings expand to include Texas-based players who are attending out-of-state prep schools? Timmins, you want to touch on it?
Yeah. So, we always talk about this when the time comes for rankings. And I think the way we do rankings, right, wrong, or indifferent, we want to try to do our best. And our best comes with evaluating multiple times throughout the high school season, the summer season. And while I know, especially for me, I do keep up with a lot of these kids that have moved to these prep schools, especially the ones in the NIBC, so we do see them, we do follow them on social media. We know if they're being successful or not. We don't get that really pure evaluation that we want. So as much as we can sit here and say that some of these kids, they're some of the top kids in Texas, the way we do our rankings just doesn't justify us keeping them in those rankings to do it the right way.
This has been a topic for many years among us, especially with Sam Lowe. And we've gone back and forth on this. Does it help the sexiness of the rankings? Sure, but when we're going to concentrate on kids for 3 or 4 games out of a year, they are the ones that really are. Those are the kids that we need to focus on, because the college coach is going to call us about them. We touch on everybody. They're still in our scouting service. We get phone calls from college coaches. We still talk about those kids that went out of state if they're available. Everybody has a different situation, as we talked about last week, of why you leave the state of Texas. And it's my biggest example is, Jacoby Walters. You get to see him, and you see, is he an NBA guy? I don't know. You probably have a better feel for that than me. But him leaving the state of Texas, Ron Holland is the perfect example of this also. He has done nothing but win while at Duncanville, and he's our number 1 guy. And that's who everybody needs to chase. And I think that just when you're playing at any stage here in Texas, that's very important that you're here. We get to see you, and it's easier to track.
I do think it's important to note, because it's turned into an every summer kind of deal where top players in Texas end up at the Montverdes, at the La Lumieres, and et cetera, every single year. Just because these kids are dispersing and going to play their high school ball elsewhere, we're still advocating for these kids. We're still pushing them. If somebody calls me and talks about, what's Liam McNeely, talk to me about him, I'm still going to give him the full scouting report and push for him, because he's a Texas kid. I'm familiar with his game. But as far as a rankings perspective, I think the most fair way to go about it is to keep the kids we see the most, which are the kids that play their high school ball in Texas.
It can be summed up as we are a Texas-based scouting service.
Yeah.
So, that's going to be our focus, who's in the state at the time. And like Lyndon said, we're going to advocate. Trenton Walter's still my boy. Like, I love watching that kid, and if he comes across my path, I'm going to watch him. But, it's a great question, but I think it just does a disservice to kind of both sides of the coin if we do put them in our rankings. Like Blue said earlier, they stay in our scouting report. Like Lyndon said, we advocate for them. So
let me just
go ahead.
Yeah, let me wrap this up with this, is that we've seen the 2023 class. Most of them are signed. They've accomplished what they needed to, and they moved on. And if you start looking at the 25 class or 24 class that those guys have moved on, that takes a lot of, we're not backing away from hard work, but that takes a lot of work to sit there and watch all of that film constantly, once a week on somebody. When we go to tournaments, we see guys, we can see them 3 times in one weekend at certain tournaments. And so it gets a little tricky, and then all of a sudden, the counter argument would be, oh, well, you didn't see him enough. How can you have him ranked number 22 in the state, and he's out of state? There's always going to be a difference of opinion here.
Yeah, we're not shying away from the fact of rankings are subjective in and of themselves, too. So let's kind of move more into our segments. We've got the GASO Fall Classic coming up this weekend, and we just wanted to start it off by saying, what are the marquee matchups? What are the games that people need to see?
And first, before we go into this, if you haven't already downloaded our Great American Shootout app, the schedule's there. So you can follow along and see some of the matchups you're interested in and comment below.
We can plug that because that's GASO stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Free shout-outs for in-house.
Blue, who's your marquee matchup?
I want to watch Byron Nelson versus Kimball.
Isn't that at 9 a.m.?
That's a 9 a.m. Right, getting right to it. Right to it.
Gosh, we're going to show up on time. Well, the thing is that I've gotten a lot of phone calls about point guards. People want to know about point guards, and here is a perfect matchup for T. John Brown of Dallas Kimball to face Finley Bizjack of Byron Nelson. Let's see what T.John's going to go out there and do. What is he going to get done as the leader of that Kimball team? No more Arterio Morris. This is the guy I look to step up for that Dallas Kimball and let him go out there and really fight and show that, hey, I'm one of the top point guards still available. Come get me. And then one other team I'm interested in seeing is Red Oak. Red Oak won 27 games. They were 28-7 last year. In the way too early top 10. We have them in 5A as like number 8 or 9, somewhere in there, and so they're gonna go in there and right away face Frisco Memorial, and they also will face Trophy Club Byron Nelson. So let's see what Red Oak's going to bring to the table, and second-year head coach Chris Davis.
Absolutely. I'll jump in here. TACA versus Duncanville. I was going through our prospect guide that we sent out, and they have 16 combined prospects that we have from our scouting service in that game. So, I mean, it's just loaded all over the place, kind of a revamped TACA. They had a great showing at the TABC, and then, all roads lead to Duncanville. So let's see it. Let's roll the ball out there and see what happens.
Lyndon?
Yeah, I'm going with a rematch of one we saw last year at this event, which was Highland Park, and then the number one team in our way too early rankings in 5A, and that's Killeen Ellison. You talk about the contrast of styles. Highland Park can play so many different ways, adapting to the other team's personnel. But then you have that Jamiron Keller X factor on the other side, the JoJo McIver, and they've got some really nice supporting pieces around those two guys. So I'm just really excited to see what they can do in such an early matchup in the year.
For me, I'm looking at a matchup between Allen and Prestonwood. New look Prestonwood. Jalen Shelley's coming in. Francis Chukwudebelu's coming in, who's consensusly top 10 nationally ranked on every service that's just updated their 2025 rankings.
Great pronunciation. So do it again.
Nope. Big Francis is what we going by. And then on the other side, Allen, I saw them last year when they hosted their holiday invitational. And Trent Payne, Caden Myers are two guys that I like. I think this will be one of the more fun games that we have, and I'm excited for that one.
All right. Marquee matchups. Make sure you go see them. Sneaky, intriguing matchups. Not little more under the radar. They could be going on while some of these more marquee matchup games are going on. Blue, what are you going with?
Sulphur Springs versus South Grand Prairie. We know SGP is going to be ready to go. They're going to play their defense. They're going to play hard. They're going to score in transition. They're going to make you guard them. They're going to make the extra passes. And then the key to this game for me is Sulphur Springs as they move down to 4A after being in 5A for so many years. Just going through the history, they took a lot of lumps early when they were in 4A and then started turning the program around. First winning season, I think, was 2016. So they're really new to the tradition still of winning, and they are in a loaded 4A Region 2. So I'm interested to see how this is going to all kind of a wind up, because Sulphur Springs, I'm excited to see them play. And now they take that step down to 4A. It's going to make it interesting, especially when you get teams that like to run and gun, and they like to beat you and pound it in a little inside a little bit to Corderick Turner.
Absolutely.
I'll go Dallas Hillcrest versus Richardson. And when I just saw this, I kind of saw youth versus seniority at every position. King Grace and Pharaoh Amati. Like, that's going to be an awesome little matchup. Jace Spann, Mike Williams, Jed Nancha, Tim Jordan. The individual matchups in this game are going to provide a lot of fireworks, and you're going to see how the youngsters respond to this battle-tested team that is honestly going to prove themselves without two big-time commits leaving. And I know they want to come out and prove that they are still a very, very dangerous team. So I'm really looking forward to see how that game goes.
I talked to Case and Wallace about his team. I'm like, what are you thinking? You and Ryland are gone. He's like, they're going to be straight. Yeah. He said, if they learn from me and Ryland, they know how to win and be in big-time games. So, I mean, yeah, you look at Richardson, the name now, and you're like, oh, the last 3 or 4 years, you're like, oh, Case and Wallace, Ryland Griffin. Well, they still have some dudes that have been in that culture and that are ready to produce right now. So, yeah, that's a good under the radar matchup.
And Hillcrest wants, they want to prove that they belong, and I think they do. The talent says so, and they've shown some significant strides.
Yeah, I'll take one kind of off the beaten path here, going with Argyle versus Canyon Randall. The point guard, scoring guard matchup here is one that you need to highlight for the future classes, with the 2024 like KJ Thomas going up against the 2025 like Jet McCaslin. Those two guys score in bunches. They're going to be really fun to watch. And then the X factor here for me is Cash Polk out of Argyle. Didn't see him a whole lot over the summer, but I know Timmins you have, and I'm excited to see what this kid can bring to the table at this high school setting as he continues to mature and improve with his game.
If it's not obvious, you need to see Jet McCaslin, because we talk about that guy a lot, and he is a hooper. And I just thought it was funny. I feel like we talked about him last week, and at the one at the end of the season, GASOs, but for good reason. But I just go see him.
And then for me, Pinkston and Midlothian. Right off the bat, there's two players that I feel like could combine for 60+. That's Kelton Williams of Midlothian and Deacon Pate of Pinkston. So when you're looking for a matchup with two scorers going back and forth at it, that's one I'll be highlighting on my list of games to cover.
Okay. Now, more of an open-ended question. Just what are you looking forward to the weekend? Obviously, the easy answer is basketball's back, loaded field. But give us something that's like kind of personal, near and dear to something that you do within GASO that you're looking forward to, why you're excited for this weekend.
Yeah. The biggest thing whenever you have that break between the traditional end of AAU at the very end of July and then fall ball starts to ramp up in the middle weeks of September and go from there is getting eyes on these players and kind of being able to figure out who took August as a vacation month, who kind of sat back and just said, okay, I had a good summer, but then there's those who really attacked it. So, maybe I wasn't satisfied with how I played during my live period. I need to really get in the gym in August and make myself a better prospect. Those guys, I think an event like this being so early in September is going to allow you to see who took it with a grain of salt of their performances in the summer and really got in the lab and improved their game over the past month or so.
And it'll be another first impression.
Exactly.
We'll have our staff there. There's going to be a lot of media that have already requested credentials. This will be a good opportunity to when it's all said and done in March. You can create a lot of momentum just by getting to it this weekend at our GASO Fall Classic.
No doubt.
And it's like you said, it's a different jersey,
Yeah.
different uniform, different buy-in, different coach. There's so many different factors that might contribute to good and, to struggling.
Yeah.
Part of it. I'll go. Finding more GASO next gen prospects. I love looking for the younger groups and kind of seeing what some of these players can become. We have an exceptional group of 2025s coming, and then we have an exceptional group of some 2026 that I've seen and I've been hearing about that I can't wait to see. So just building that database, being able to speak to some of those younger guys, kind of take on who's up next in Texas.
For me, I'll be doing Kicking It Courtside podcasts on location. Summer's over. It's time for me to get some more FaceTime. I need to be in front of the camera. I'm going to be behind it, but it's time for your boy to get some FaceTime. So I'm going to be grabbing some of the top prospects at our event, chopping it up with them. You know how we do it. We keep it casual, not just basketball related. So be looking out for that. And Blue, something similar?
Yep. Road to San Antonio. I've enjoyed doing it. I've already had a couple of episodes come out early this year as we've got into the new high school year. I've taken the last couple of weeks off because we're about to see all these high school coaches, so I get to really hit them with some quick questions, get their responses, and like I said, I'm like a Richardson. How are they going to respond this year? What does Kevin Lawson think of this group after what he had for 4 years? Just try to get a little bit more insight with Road to San Antonio, and I think it starts this weekend.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for tuning into this GASO cast. Follow us on Twitter. Our newsletter, Lyndon and I will be working on that. We got some cool new little content pieces coming out for this fall GASO Fall Classic. Link Camp at Texas Hoops GASO, I Film Hoopers, GASO Mass, GASO Blue, GASO Lyndon. It's easy.
And then as far as the YouTube channel, comment, like, subscribe. We do this for y'all, so we appreciate the support. And then the one thing I want to ask y'all, I'll be doing a lot of YouTube coverage, game recaps at our Fall Classic. Comment below on this some of the matchups that you want to see on our YouTube channel as we continue to grow this platform. But we appreciate y'all, and we can't wait to come next Wednesday to kind of talk about our thoughts on the Link Camp and the Fall GASO Classic. So we'll see you then.
See you then.